Awesome. So, looking at some of your Fund 8 proposals for Milkomeda, there are some really exciting ones in there for me. The first one I want to talk about is the Milkomeda Dapp store.
Yeah. Yeah, so one thing that we've noticed with Cardano is that it's often hard for new users to get started. And why is that? Because they don't know everything that's available in Cardano. And if they don't know everything that's available on Cardano, their first reaction is, well, there are no dApps on Cardano because they have no place to go where they can just see a list of dApps and be like, oh, wow, look at all these things going on, right? And so we want to solve that for Cardano, and we also have the same problem for Milkomeda, right? We want people to be able to go to us and be like, wow, look at all these things that are available for Milkomeda. There's so much, things that I can do. And so that's kind of the basic idea of the Dapp store. And actually, we've already kind of built some of the work for that, and you can see that in Flint Wallet. Flint Wallet for mobile recently released the Dapp browser, and from the Dapp browser, you can connect to any Dapp on Cardano from your Android and iOS device. And we're working to improve that to basically recommend dApps to you. So basically, like if you used SundaeSwap before, it'll be like, hey, you've used SundaeSwap. Would you like to use it again? And we'll have a whole bookmark system. So we're working a lot on discoverability of Cardano dApps. And of course, we want to extend this as well to discoverability of Milkomeda dApps to, have an easier onboarding experience for users.
So, with that, let's say you're on the Flint mobile app right now and you go to the Dapp store and you click Sunday Swap, for example. Does that just take you to essentially like a mobile version of their website with the Flint wallet already connected, and then you can interact with any of the applications on there?
Yeah, that's the basic idea. But unlike other variations, the Flint wallet integration does not require any code change from the Dapp developer. So if you have a DEX on Cardano or a DAO platform on Cardano or an NFT marketplace on Cardano and you want to support Flint wallet, there's no code change required to make this possible. So everything just should work as is. So it's a very smooth experience from the developer's perspective. We're going to be adding deep links very soon as well, which will mean that if you're a Dapp developer and you want to have a button on your website that says like press here to open with Flint Wallet, you'll be able to have that on your website and the user just press that and it'll automatically open Flint Wallet connected to your Dapp as well. So that'll be, kind of a smooth onboarding experience for dApps as well.
So moving forward, this Dapp store, it's going to include both Cardano, things on the layer one of Cardano, as well as Milkomeda applications. How is that from a user experience perspective? Will the user even like have to know how much ADA they have on Milkomeda versus the layer one? Like how can they interact with these applications? Looking at accessibility, will eventually users just not even have to know what chain they're using?
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal, right? So we have some concepts that we think will help a lot to get there. So obviously the first concept was we'll be integrating Milkomeda into Flint Wallet. And so you'll be able to have both chains on the same wallet.
Mm-hmm.
But we also want to have this concept of wrapped smart contracts, which is that you call a smart contract on Cardano, which then triggers a smart contract on Milkomeda, takes the result and brings that result back to Cardano. So from a user perspective, you don't even know you're using Milkomeda. So this will allow a lot of interoperability use cases because there's a lot of crypto ecosystems out there that have bridges to EVM chains, but not bridges to other chains. So if you want to, for example, like do a swap on some DEX, oftentimes it's easier for this application to deploy on Milkomeda because they already have an EVM version of their application, and then they can connect that to the Cardano chain through this wrapped smart contract concept. So from a user perspective, you interact with this Cardano smart contract, it goes to Milkomeda, performs a swap, takes the result, brings that back to Cardano, and gives it to your Cardano wallet. And so this will be a very smooth user experience. But part of this requires actually the CIP that I mentioned earlier that adds this proxy contract support. So if you're interested in this functionality, definitely go check out the proxy contract support CIP and show your support for it. And this will also help, the layer 2 version of Milkomeda on Cardano. It'll help other projects like Mamba. It'll help quite a lot of use cases on Cardano. So I think this will be an exciting new feature in a future hard fork.
Yeah, definitely exciting. The next Fund 8 proposal that was interesting to me was the graph.
Yeah, so if people don't know, the graph is an indexer for Ethereum. And so basically what you want to be able to do is access the state of an Ethereum dApp from some like arbitrary web server. And you might think, well, this can't be that hard. Like, how hard is it to get the state of Uniswap? Well, it's actually kind of difficult because you need to know exactly how Uniswap works, how they encode all the data for the application. You need to build some system that tracks the Ethereum state. There's actually quite a large engineering effort. And what the graph does is basically abstracts this all away to an easy API you can get, and you can just query the API and it'll give you the current Uniswap state. And the cool thing about the graph is that anybody can write their own graph. So if you deploy some new Dapp to Ethereum, you can write a graph for it, deploy it to the graph, and then everybody can now index your specific Dapp and connect to it. And this is actually really useful for NFT projects. Every time you launch an NFT project on Ethereum, you can easily build an indexer for it in a few minutes, and then everybody can now track the state of your NFTs on Ethereum. It's in a sense kind of similar to Carp. So if you want, Carp is kind of like the graph for Cardano, if you will. Obviously, a much smaller version of it because the graph is a multi-million-dollar project, whereas Carp was funded by like 50K of Cal's grants. It's obviously quite a large scope difference. Yeah, one day maybe. But so this is useful for Milkomeda users, right? If you have a Dapp you have on Milkomeda, you also want to be able to easily access it. The people can build indexers for it. And so we want to deploy the graph onto Milkomeda so that people can easily index the state of their dApps, which will help a lot for analytics if you want to know exactly how dApps and Milkomeda are being used, and if you want to combine this data for any other purpose.
Awesome. Are there any other, Milkomeda proposals either in Fund 8 or Fund 9 that we didn't cover in this that you would like to go over?
Yeah, we have quite a lot of proposals, as you know.
Can confirm.
I think which one might be the most interesting one. I think one that's really interesting is the accelerator program. So, and I think this is interesting because it's a cool use case of Catalyst. So if you ever try to look into accelerator programs in the world and how they work, usually what happens is that you get funding, some amount of funding from a company, and in exchange, you have to sell part of your equity in your company, right? And so you sell part of your equity in exchange, you get some money, and that's a help, and they'll help you, build out your business model. What we wanted to do was, instead of receiving equity, we wanted to get money from Catalyst and then give money from Catalyst to these projects. So if somebody wants to build a dApp on Cardano, they don't have to sell any equity to us. They can keep the full ownership of their company, but still get advice from an expert company about how to basically build out their dApp. And that's what our accelerator program is all about. And so we've currently finished batch 1. And so we have a few projects that are released on batch 1, and we're going to be starting batch 2 soon. And we have a Catalyst proposal for batch 3. I think this is really cool because there's very few accelerator programs in the world that can work this way. And the fact that we can do this is only enabled by the fact that we have Catalyst project.